Thanks, Kathy. Over the last few days, critics of the ERG group in the Conservative Party have been out and about loudly accusing them of taking over the Conservatives using words like infiltration. Here was Anna Soubry yesterday explaining why she had left the party.
As my friend, and he is my friend, Chuka Ramuna said on Monday, you don't join a political party to fight it. And you don't stay in it and skirmish in the margins when the truth is the battle is over and the other side has won. The right wing, the hardline anti-EU awkward squad that have destroyed every leader for the last 40 years are now running the Conservative Party from top to toe.
Now, the hard Brexiteers of the Conservative Party have taken exception to the idea that they represent a hard right faction. They don't like the idea that they're the equivalent of the Corbynite left in the Labour Party. So let us discuss what the right way of thinking about this is. I'm joined by the Guido Fawkes commentator, Tom Harwood, and a former Conservative political advisor, Joe Tanner. Joe Tanner, do you think something has changed in the party and that Anna Soubry had broadly called it right?
I wouldn't necessarily say something has changed in terms of that group and its approach. I think it's more that the issues they represent are at the fore at the moment, and there is definitely a sense in Westminster that Theresa May is playing to that group more, feels that they are more influential, feels that they are more likely to do something that is going to cause trouble, and therefore their prominence has definitely grown. I'm not sure that I agree with the principle that, you know, they've necessarily changed or particularly hardened their views, but I guess it's just that there is for the rest of the Conservative Party and for the likes of Anna, it feels that they have got more of a hold on the party simply because the way the politics are playing out. Apart
from Brexit, we all know about Brexit. We know there's a division there. Apart from that, what evidence would you say there is that that group have somehow taken control?
Well, I think that's the issue, is that it is really only over Brexit, because if you look at actually what's going on in politics these days, nothing else is being talked about. We are not doing anything else. None of the issues around social care, health, education, etc. are being dealt with because everything is paralysed by Brexit, which means the prism... So
Brexit defines the whole issue through which you view everything, yeah.
That's the prism by which we see everything at the moment.
Tom Harwood, I was trying to think before we came on how you would weigh up the evidence on each side of this. I mean, first summarise where you are on where you think the Conservative Party is.
Well, I think objectively... The Conservative Party today is the furthest left it's been since the 1960s. Theresa May comes from the wettest tradition of the wets of the Conservative Party, and the 2017 manifesto was the highest taxing, most redistributive manifesto we've stood on since 1964. So really what we're seeing in terms of the Conservative Party's positions, whether it's on the tax burden being at a 50-year high, whether it's on all this scope of issue, and even on social policy. I mean, it's the accusation that's thrown at Theresa May most often is that she's pretty hardline on migration. But if you compare the migration policy of the Conservative Party now, laid out by Sajid Javid a few weeks ago in the Commons, we've got rid of the tens of thousands target now. So really, if we look at the detail of it, we're much further to the left today than we were under Cameron.
So, Joe Tanner, you hear what Tom Harwood says. Why then do people say that the Conservative Party is more right-wing? Can you answer that? If when you look at that ledger, it doesn't appear to be particularly so.
Well, I mean, certainly there are some within, if you look at actually how successful that manifesto was, it wasn't overly successful in terms of getting out a Tory vote. But also...
win, but that doesn't make it...
It got 43% of the votes.
But I think the bigger issue is that the left have moved harder to the left, which means you automatically look at the right and think that it's moved. Whether it has moved significantly, I'm not really that convinced. I just think that on the issue of Europe, there are louder and stronger voices on that side.
Can I just, Tom, put to you that a lot of this might be a tone thing and a warmness to, if you like, some of the things going on in the world. Trump. Jacob Rees-Mogg said, let's have the reddest of red carpets for Donald Trump coming to the UK. And obviously there's a kind of a very mainstream opinion here that views Trump somewhat sceptically, probably. I wonder whether it is that kind of tone thing and that warmness. So it's not a policy thing, it's just a tone thing.
But even if it is a tonal thing, the idea that Jacob Rees-Mogg is somehow in control of the Conservative Party is ludicrous. How many weeks did it take for them to cobble together 48 letters in order to have a no-confidence vote that they lost? How many cabinet ministers who've been in favour of a cleaner break from the EU have resigned because they don't like the direction that the government's going in terms of being much more closely regulatory aligned to the EU in terms of them leaning towards a customs union. All of the policy, all of the tone that's heading out of the leadership of the Conservative Party has been from the most moderate, middle road position that you could possibly imagine. And it's a total media fiction, mostly driven by the...
Well, there's a
People's Vote
Brexit
campaign.
thing, which obviously is driving a lot of it, isn't it? The no-deal Brexit. Support for no-deal Brexit has been equated with right-wing. And
Right, which, I mean, is a different question in and of itself as to how much no deal can be. I think Chris Williamson even supports a no deal Brexit.
Yeah, no, well,
I mean, that to one side. The voices that are being amplified really serve an agenda of the Second Referendum Brigade. They will always bring out the names of the people in the party who have always been in the party and who don't hold any formal positions in the party when they're trying to put across their case. But that doesn't mean that these people are in control of the party. Far from it.
Tom Harwood, Joe Tanner. I'm sure that debate is not going to end here. Thank you both very much for getting it going here, though. Thanks.